Jasmine's hands shook as she sat across from her fiancé Marcus and his parents in their fancy living room. The leather chairs felt cold against her skin, and the crystal chandelier above seemed to mock her with its expensive sparkle. Mrs. Richardson's perfectly manicured nails tapped against the mahogany table where a thick stack of papers waited. "Now, Jasmine, dear," Mrs. Richardson said with a smile that never reached her eyes, "you understand this is just business. Nothing personal." Mr. Richardson adjusted his gold watch and cleared his throat. "Marcus comes from a family with significant assets. We've worked hard to build our wealth over generations. This prenuptial agreement simply protects what we've built." Jasmine looked at Marcus, hoping to see some support in his eyes, but he stared down at his hands. Her heart sank. They had been together for 3 years, and she thought his family had finally accepted her. She was wrong. "I don't understand," Jasmine said quietly. "I never asked Marcus for anything. I worked 2 jobs to pay for nursing school. I'm not after your money." Mrs. Richardson's laugh was sharp. "Oh, honey, that's what they all say. But once you're married, things change. People get ideas." The words stung like a slap. Jasmine had grown up in a small apartment with her grandmother after her parents died in a car accident when she was 12. She knew what it meant to work hard for everything. She had cleaned offices at night while going to community college during the day. She had saved every penny to transfer to a 4-year nursing program. "Look," Mr. Richardson said, leaning forward, "we're not trying to be mean. We like you, Jasmine, but this is how wealthy families protect themselves. Sign this, and we can move forward with the wedding planning." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears as she read the papers. If they divorced, she would get nothing, not even money for school or living expenses during the marriage. She would have to quit her jobs and depend completely on Marcus, but if things went wrong, she would be left with nothing. "I need time to think," she whispered. "There's nothing to think about," Mrs. Richardson said firmly. "Either you sign it or there's no wedding. It's that simple." Marcus finally looked up. "Mom, maybe we could change some of the terms." "Absolutely not," his father interrupted. "These terms are final. Take it or leave it." Jasmine stood up on shaky legs. "I'll give you my answer tomorrow." As she walked toward the door, she heard Mrs. Richardson whisper to her husband, "She'll sign." They always do when they realize what they're giving up. The drive home to her tiny apartment was a blur of tears. Jasmine parked outside the building where she had lived since starting college. The paint was peeling, and the stairs creaked, but it was home. She climbed to the 3rd floor and unlocked her door. Her phone rang as soon as she sat on her bed. It was her best friend, Keisha. "Girl, how did it go with the future in-laws?" Keisha asked. Jasmine told her everything. By the end, she was crying so hard she could barely speak. "They want you to sign away your whole future," Keisha said, angrily. "That's not love, Jazz. That's control." "But I love Marcus," Jasmine sobbed, "and if I don't sign, I lose him." "Baby, if he lets his parents treat you like this, maybe he's not the one." After they hung up, Jasmine lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She thought about her grandmother, who had raised her with such strength and dignity. Grandma Rose had worked as a housekeeper for 50 years, but she never let anyone make her feel small. "You're worth more than what people want to give you," Grandma Rose used to say. "Don't ever forget that." But Grandma Rose had been gone for 2 years now, and Jasmine felt so alone. She pulled out her phone and looked at pictures of her and Marcus. They looked happy. He used to tell her she was beautiful and smart, and that his family would love her once they got to know her. She had believed him. Now she wondered if she had been fooling herself. Maybe Mrs. Richardson was right. Maybe she was just a poor girl trying to marry up. The thought made her sick. Jasmine walked to her kitchen and made a cup of tea. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of traffic outside. She sat at her small table and looked at the stack of nursing textbooks. She was so close to graduating. Just 1 more year, and she would have her degree. If she signed the prenup and married Marcus, she would have to quit school. Mrs. Richardson had made it clear that a Richardson wife didn't work. She would live in their big house and attend charity events and smile, pretty for pictures. But what would happen to her dreams of helping people? She had wanted to be a nurse since she was a little girl playing with her toy stethoscope. Even after her parents died, even through all the hard times, that dream had kept her going. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "I love you. Please don't let this come between us." Jasmine stared at the message for a long time before turning off her phone. She needed to think without his voice in her head. She needed to remember who she was before she met him. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the look in Mrs. Richardson's eyes. It was the same look she had seen from some of the wealthy patients at the hospital where she worked part-time. They looked at her like she was invisible, like she didn't matter. By morning, Jasmine knew what she had to do. Jasmine woke up with swollen eyes and a heavy heart. She had made her decision during the long, sleepless night, but that didn't make it any easier. She got dressed for work at the hospital, moving slowly like her body was fighting against what her mind knew was right. Her phone had 15 missed calls from Marcus and several text messages begging her to call him back. She turned it off and put it in her drawer. At the hospital, Jasmine tried to focus on her patients, but her mind kept wandering. She was checking on Mrs. Johnson, an elderly black woman who had been admitted with heart problems, when the older woman noticed her distress. "Child, you look like you've been crying all night," Mrs. Johnson said gently. "What's got you so torn up?" Jasmine hesitated, then found herself telling Mrs. Johnson everything. The kind woman listened without judgment, nodding occasionally. "Let me tell you something, baby," Mrs. Johnson said when Jasmine finished. "I've been married for 47 years. Love isn't about what people can give you or take away from you. Real love lifts you up. It doesn't tear you down or make you choose between your dreams and your heart." "But I love him so much," Jasmine whispered. "I know you do. But ask yourself this. Does he love you enough to stand up for you? Does he love you enough to protect you from his family's cruelty?" The questions hit Jasmine like a punch to the chest because she already knew the answers. After work, Jasmine drove to Marcus's apartment. Her hands were shaking as she knocked on his door. He opened it immediately, like he had been waiting by the window. "Thank God," he said, pulling her into a hug. "I was so worried. Mom and Dad said you seemed upset yesterday, but I told them you'd come around." Jasmine pulled away from him. "Marcus, we need to talk." They sat on his expensive couch in his expensive apartment that his parents paid for. Everything around them screamed money and privilege, and Jasmine suddenly felt like a stranger in a place she had once considered a second home. "I can't sign the prenup," she said quietly. Marcus's face fell. "Jazz, please. It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't change how I feel about you." "It changes everything," she said, tears starting to fall. "Your parents want me to give up school, give up working, give up everything that makes me who I am. And if something goes wrong, I'd have nothing. Nothing will go wrong." Marcus said desperately, "We love each other." "Then why won't you fight for me?" The words came out louder than she intended. "Why won't you tell your parents that this is wrong?" Marcus looked away. "It's complicated. The business, the family expectations. I'm not asking you to choose between me and your family." Jasmine interrupted. "I'm asking you to choose between right and wrong. I'm asking you to protect the woman you say you love." The silence stretched between them like a canyon. "I can't," Marcus finally whispered. "I can't go against them. They'll cut me off. I won't have anything." "And you think I have something to fall back on?" Jasmine stood up, anger and hurt burning in her chest. "I don't have a trust fund or a family business. All I have is my education and my dreams, and you want me to give those up for a maybe?" "It's not a maybe," Marcus said, standing too. "I love you." "Not enough," Jasmine said, and the words broke her heart as she said them. "You don't love me enough." She pulled off her engagement ring and set it on his coffee table. The diamond caught the light and sparkled, but it looked cold and empty now. "Jasmine, please." "I'm going to finish nursing school," she said, walking toward the door. "I'm going to build a life for myself." And someday, I'm going to find someone who loves me enough to fight for me. Marcus called her name as she left, but she didn't turn around. In the hallway, she could hear him crying, and it took everything she had not to run back to him. The drive home was a blur. Jasmine parked outside her apartment building and sat in her car for a long time. She felt empty and full at the same time, empty of the future she had planned, but full of a strange new strength. Her phone rang. This time it was Keisha. "How did it go?" her friend asked. "I gave him back the ring," Jasmine said, and saying it out loud made it real. "Oh, baby. I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" "I think so. I mean, I'm not okay right now, but I think I will be." "I'm coming over," Keisha said. "Don't move." While she waited for her friend, Jasmine looked up at her apartment building. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She had worked for everything in that little space. No one could take it away from her or make her feel ashamed of it. Her phone buzzed with another text from Marcus, but she deleted it without reading it. She was done being made to feel like she wasn't enough. Keisha arrived with ice cream and tissues, and they sat on Jasmine's couch talking until late into the night. "You did the right thing," Keisha said. "It's going to hurt for a while, but you did the right thing." "His parents are probably celebrating right now," Jasmine said bitterly. "Let them. They lost out on having you in their family. That's their loss." As Keisha left, she hugged Jasmine tight. "You're stronger than you know, girl, and you're going to be an amazing nurse." Alone again, Jasmine looked at her nursing textbooks on the table. Tomorrow she would go to class and work and keep building her future. It wouldn't be the future she had planned, but it would be hers. She thought about Mrs. Johnson's words about real love lifting you up. Marcus's love had felt more like a weight pulling her down, making her smaller and smaller until she almost disappeared. For the first time in days, Jasmine slept peacefully. 3 months had passed since Jasmine broke off her engagement. The first month had been the hardest. Marcus called and texted constantly, sometimes begging her to come back, sometimes angry that she had thrown away their future. His mother even called once, telling Jasmine she was making a huge mistake and that she would regret losing Marcus forever. Jasmine changed her phone number. Now, as she sat in her advanced nursing procedures class, she felt lighter somehow. Her grades had improved, and she had thrown herself into her studies with a new determination. Her professors noticed her renewed focus, and one had even mentioned a scholarship opportunity. "Miss Washington," Professor Martinez said after class, "could I speak with you for a moment?" Jasmine gathered her books and approached the desk. Professor Martinez was a respected nurse practitioner who had been teaching for 20 years. "I've been watching your work this semester," she said with a warm smile. "Your clinical skills are exceptional, and your compassion with patients is exactly what this profession needs." "Thank you," Jasmine said, feeling proud but confused about where this was going. "There's a paid internship opportunity at Children's Memorial Hospital. It's competitive, but I think you'd be perfect for it. The position comes with a small stipend that could help with living expenses, and it would look excellent on your resume." Jasmine's eyes widened. "Really? You think I have a chance?" "I more than think it. I'm recommending you personally. The application is due next week." Walking out of the classroom, Jasmine felt like she was floating. A few months ago, she would have called Marcus first to share the good news. Now she called Keisha. "Girl, that's amazing." Keisha screamed into the phone. "See, good things happen when you bet on yourself." That evening, Jasmine worked on her internship application at the kitchen table in her small apartment. She wrote about her passion for helping children and families during difficult times. She thought about her own childhood, losing her parents so young, and how the nurses at the hospital had been so kind to her and her grandmother. As she wrote, Jasmine realized something important. Breaking up with Marcus hadn't just saved her from a bad marriage. It had forced her to remember who she really was and what she really wanted. The next week flew by. Jasmine submitted her application and tried not to think about it too much. She had learned not to get her hopes up too high. Life had taught her that lesson early. On Friday evening, she was getting ready for her night shift at the hospital when her phone rang. The caller ID showed Children's Memorial Hospital. "Hello, this is Jasmine." Hi, Jasmine. This is Dr. Sarah Chun from Children's Memorial. I'm calling about your internship application. Jasmine's heart pounded. Yes, ma'am. We were very impressed with your application and Professor Martinez's recommendation. We'd like to offer you the position. Jasmine sank onto her bed, overwhelmed. Are you serious? Dr. Chun laughed. Very serious. When can you start? Whenever you need me, Jasmine said, tears of joy streaming down her face. After she hung up, Jasmine danced around her tiny apartment. She called Keisha, who screamed so loud that Jasmine had to hold the phone away from her ear. We're celebrating tomorrow night, Keisha declared. I'm taking you out to dinner somewhere fancy. I can't afford fancy, Jasmine laughed. My treat. You deserve it. That night, at her regular job, Jasmine couldn't stop smiling. She told Mrs. Johnson, who was back in the hospital for a checkup, about the internship. Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you, the older woman said, squeezing Jasmine's hand. See what happens when you trust yourself. I was so scared when I broke up with Marcus, Jasmine admitted. I thought I was giving up my only chance at happiness. Child, happiness isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you build for yourself. That boy and his family, they wanted to tear down what you were building and make you live in their house. But it wouldn't have been your house, you understand? Jasmine nodded. She was beginning to understand a lot of things. As her shift ended, Jasmine walked to her car with a spring in her step. The parking garage was quiet, and she could see the city lights twinkling in the distance. 6 months ago, she had felt trapped and small. Now she felt like the whole world was opening up for her. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Her heart skipped, wondering if Marcus had gotten a new phone to contact her. But when she opened the message, it was from her cousin Denise in Chicago, whom she hadn't heard from in years. Hey, cuz. Hope you're doing well. I have some news that might interest you. Can you call me when you get a chance? It's about Grandma Rose's house. Jasmine frowned. Grandma Rose's house had been sold years ago to pay for her medical bills before she died. What could Denise possibly have to tell her about it? She called as soon as she got home. Jasmine, girl, I've been trying to track you down for weeks, Denise said excitedly. Do you remember Grandma Rose's old neighbor, Mr. Thompson? Vaguely, Jasmine said, Why? Well, he died last month, and the craziest thing happened. Apparently, he never forgot how kind Grandma Rose was to him over the years. She used to bring him meals when he was sick, check on him during storms, all that good stuff. That sounds like Grandma, Jasmine said softly. Well, get this, he left something for her in his will. Since she's gone, it goes to you as her only heir. Jasmine sat down heavily. What did he leave? I don't know all the details, but his lawyer wants to meet with you. He said it's significant. Can you come to Chicago next weekend? Jasmine's mind raced. She had vacation days saved up, and the internship didn't start for 2 weeks. I'll be there, she said. After they hung up, Jasmine stared at her phone in confusion. Mr. Thompson had been a quiet old man who lived next door to Grandma Rose for as long as Jasmine could remember. She had no idea he even remembered her grandmother, let alone that he would leave her something in his will. But Grandma Rose had always been like that, helping people without expecting anything in return. She had raised Jasmine the same way, teaching her that kindness was its own reward. I guess we'll see, Grandma, Jasmine said to the empty apartment. I guess we'll see. The bus ride to Chicago gave Jasmine too much time to think. She stared out the window at the passing farmland and tried to imagine what Mr. Thompson could have possibly left her. Probably some old furniture, or maybe a small amount of money to help with school. Even a few $100s would be a blessing. She had packed her best dress, a simple black one she had bought for job interviews, and tried not to get her hopes up. Life had taught her that unexpected windfalls usually turned out to be unexpected disappointments. Denise picked her up at the bus station in her beat-up Honda. They hadn't seen each other since Grandma Rose's funeral, and Jasmine was struck by how much older her cousin looked. Denise had 3 kids now and worked 2 jobs to support them. You look good, girl, Denise said, hugging her tight. Heard you're about to be a nurse. Grandma Rose would be so proud. They drove through Chicago's South Side, past the neighborhood where Grandma Rose had lived for 40 years. The house where Jasmine had spent her childhood looked smaller and shabbier than she remembered, but seeing it still made her heart ache. The lawyer's office is downtown, Denise said. His name is Mr. Patterson. He seemed real nice on the phone, but lawyers make me nervous. Me too, Jasmine admitted. They found parking and made their way to a tall office building. Mr. Patterson's office was on the 15th floor, and Jasmine's stomach churned as the elevator climbed higher and higher. The lawyer was a middle-aged white man with kind eyes and a gentle handshake. His office was lined with law books, and he gestured for them to sit in comfortable chairs across from his desk. "Thank you both for coming," he said. "I know, this must seem strange, getting a call about Harold Thompson after all this time. We barely knew him," Jasmine said honestly. "I mean, he was Grandma Rose's neighbor, but he kept to himself, mostly." Mr. Patterson smiled. "That's what made this so surprising to me, too. But when I met with Harold to draft his will, he spoke about your grandmother at length. He said she was the only person who ever showed him real kindness." He opened a file folder on his desk. Harold was a very successful man, though he lived modestly. He worked in real estate investment for 40 years and was quite wealthy when he retired. He had no family, no children. Jasmine felt confused. "But what does that have to do with us?" Harold left specific instructions about Rose, Washington's granddaughter. He remembered you from when you were a little girl, apparently. He said Rose was always talking about how smart you were, how you wanted to help people. The lawyer pulled out a document. Harold Thompson's estate was valued at approximately $12 million. Both women stared at him in shock. "I'm sorry, what?" Denise whispered. $12 million, Mr. Patterson repeated calmly. "And Harold left $10 million of it to Jasmine Washington, Rose Washington's granddaughter." The room started spinning. Jasmine gripped the arms of her chair and tried to breathe. "That's impossible," she said. "He didn't even know me." "He knew your grandmother," Mr. Patterson said gently, "and he believed that anyone raised by Rose Washington would use such a gift wisely. He specifically mentioned hoping it would help you finish school and pursue your dreams of helping others." Denise started crying. "Oh my God, Jasmine. Oh my God." "There are some conditions," the lawyer continued. "The money is held in a trust. You'll receive monthly payments that are more than enough to live comfortably, but you can't access the full amount until you're 30 or until you graduate from nursing school, whichever comes first. Harold wanted to make sure you finished your education." Jasmine couldn't speak. $10 million. It was more money than she had ever imagined having in her entire lifetime. "I need to step outside," she said, standing on shaky legs. In the hallway, Jasmine leaned against the wall and tried to process what had just happened. 6 months ago, she had been asked to sign a prenup that would have left her with nothing. Now, she was a millionaire. Denise came out and hugged her. "Girl, you're rich. You're actually rich." "I don't understand," Jasmine said, tears streaming down her face. "Why me? Why now?" "Maybe Grandma Rose is looking out for you from heaven," Denise said softly. "She always said good things happen to good people, even if it takes time." They went back into the office, where Mr. Patterson explained the details. The trust would begin making payments immediately, enough to cover all of Jasmine's expenses, and then some. She would never have to worry about money again. "Harold also left a letter for you," the lawyer said, handing her an envelope. With trembling hands, Jasmine opened it and read, "Dear Jasmine, you probably don't remember me, but I remember you. You were always such a polite little girl, helping your grandmother carry groceries and never making noise when I needed quiet for my headaches. But mostly, I remember your grandmother Rose. When I got sick a few years back, she brought me soup every day for 2 weeks. When that storm knocked out my power, she invited me to stay at her house. She never asked for anything in return. She just cared. Rose used to talk about you all the time, how you were going to be a nurse and help sick children. How proud she was of your grades and your kind heart. She said you were going to change the world, one patient at a time. I never had children, Never had anyone to leave my money to. Banks and charities don't need it as much as you do. Use this gift to finish school, to help others, to live the life Rose always knew you would live. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for having this money. You earned it by being the kind of person worth investing in. Make your grandmother proud. Sincerely, Harold Thompson. By the time Jasmine finished reading, she was sobbing. Denise was crying too, and even Mr. Patterson looked emotional. Take your time, the lawyer said kindly. This is a lot to process. What do I do now? Jasmine asked through her tears. Well, Mr. Patterson said, the first payment will be deposited into your account within a week. I'd suggest finding a good financial advisor to help you manage everything. And maybe keep this information private for a while until you decide how you want to handle it. Walking out of that office building, Jasmine felt like she was in a dream. The city looked different somehow, brighter and full of possibilities. You have to quit those jobs, Denise said as they drove back through the city. You can focus on school full-time now. I know, Jasmine said, but part of her couldn't quite believe it yet. And you have to call that fool Marcus and tell him his mama can kiss your rich behind, Denise added with a laugh. But Jasmine shook her head. No, I'm not going to tell him or his family anything. This isn't about them. Girl, you're better than me. I'd be calling them right now. As the bus pulled away from Chicago that evening, Jasmine watched the city disappear behind her. She thought about Grandma Rose, about her kindness and strength. She thought about Mr. Thompson, a lonely old man who had been changed by one woman's compassion. Most of all, she thought about the future. For the first time in her life, she could dream as big as she wanted. The money wasn't just a gift, it was a responsibility. Harold Thompson believed in her because Grandma Rose had believed in her. Now she had to prove them both right. Jasmine spent the entire bus ride home staring at her phone, reading and rereading the text from the bank, confirming her first trust payment had been deposited. The number seemed impossible, $25,000. More money than she had ever seen in her account, and it was just the beginning. When she got back to her apartment, everything looked different. The peeling paint, the creaky floors, the tiny kitchen, it all looked like someone else's life now. She sat on her bed and called Keisha. Girl, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all weekend, Keisha said. I was in Chicago. Keisha, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to tell anyone. You're scaring me. What happened? Jasmine took a deep breath and told her everything. About Mr. Thompson, the inheritance, the $10 million. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched, so long that Jasmine thought the call had dropped. Keisha, are you there? $10 million, Keisha whispered. Jasmine, are you for real right now? I'm still trying to believe it myself. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're rich. My best friend is rich. Sure. You promised not to tell anyone. I won't, but girl, this changes everything. You never have to worry about money again. You can quit those jobs, focus on school, travel the world. I'm scared. Jasmine interrupted quietly. Scared? Why are you scared? What if I mess this up? What if I'm not the person Mr. Thompson thought I was? What if I don't deserve this? Stop right there, Keisha said firmly. You are exactly the person who deserves this. You've worked your butt off your whole life. You put yourself through school. You take care of everyone around you. You're going to be an amazing nurse. This isn't luck, Jazz. This is life finally paying you back for all the good you've put into the world. After they hung up, Jasmine sat in the quiet of her apartment and tried to figure out what to do next. The lawyer had suggested keeping the news private, and she understood why. People would treat her differently if they knew. Some would want things from her. Others would resent her for having what they didn't. She thought about Marcus and his family. The irony was almost funny. They had insisted on a prenup to protect their wealth from her, never imagining that she would end up richer than all of them combined. But as satisfying as that thought was, Jasmine realized something important. She didn't want revenge. She didn't want to hurt them or prove them wrong. She just wanted to live her life and help people just like Grandma Rose had taught her. The next morning, Jasmine called in sick to both of her jobs. She couldn't concentrate on work when her whole world had changed overnight. Instead, she walked to the cemetery where Grandma Rose was buried. She hadn't been there in months, and guilt washed over her as she saw the simple headstone. She should have visited more often. "Hey, Grandma," she said, sitting in the grass beside the grave. "I have so much to tell you." She told her grandmother everything about Marcus and the prenup, about the inheritance, about her fears and dreams. She cried talking about how much she missed having someone to guide her through life's big moments. "I wish you were here to tell me what to do," she whispered. "I'm so scared I'm going to mess this up." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the oak tree above the grave, and Jasmine could almost hear her grandmother's voice. "Baby girl, you already know what to do. You just have to trust yourself." Driving home, Jasmine made a decision. She would quit her night job at the office building, the one that was just about making money, but she would keep working at the hospital part-time, at least until she graduated. She loved her patients there, and the work reminded her why she wanted to be a nurse. She would also start the internship at Children's Memorial as planned. The money from the trust meant she didn't need the stipend, but she needed the experience and the sense of purpose. That afternoon, Jasmine went shopping for the first time in her life without checking prices or calculating whether she could afford something. It felt surreal walking through Target and just putting things in her cart: new sheets, a coffee maker that actually made good coffee, books she had wanted to read but couldn't afford. At the grocery store, she filled her cart with fresh fruits and vegetables, good cuts of meat, organic everything. The checkout total was more than she usually spent on groceries in a month, but it barely made a dent in her account. As she loaded groceries into her car, Jasmine's phone rang. The caller ID showed Marcus's name, and her heart jumped. She hadn't heard from him in 2 months. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of her. "Hello." "Jasmine, thank God you answered. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Your old number was disconnected." His voice sounded strained, desperate even. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I should have fought for you, should have stood up to my parents. I love you, Jazz. I want you back." Jasmine leaned against her car, surprised by how little his words affected her. A few months ago, hearing him say he loved her would have made her heart race. Now, she just felt sad for him. "It's too late for that," she said quietly. "No, it's not. Listen, I left the family business. I got my own job, my own apartment. I'm not depending on them anymore. We can start over, just you and me." "Marcus, stop. We're done. We've been done." "But I love you," he said, and she could hear tears in his voice. "I know you do. But love isn't enough if you can't act on it when it matters. You had your chance to fight for me, and you chose your parents' money instead. I chose wrong. Please, just give me another chance." Jasmine closed her eyes, thinking about the girl who had sat in his parents' living room 6 months ago, desperate for their approval and willing to sign away her future for it. "I'm not that girl anymore, Marcus. I'm not the same person who needed you to choose her. I choose myself now." She hung up and stood in the parking lot for a moment, waiting to feel something: regret, sadness, longing. Instead, she felt free. That evening, Jasmine sat at her kitchen table with her laptop and started researching things she had never thought she could afford: graduate school programs, travel destinations, charities she could support. But first, she had a phone call to make. "Mrs. Johnson, this is Jasmine from the hospital. I hope you don't mind me calling you at home." "Oh, honey, of course not. How are you doing? I heard about that wonderful internship. That's actually why I'm calling. I was wondering if you'd like to have lunch sometime. I have an idea I'd like to run by you." "I'd love to, dear. What kind of idea?" Jasmine smiled, looking at the numbers in her bank account. "I'm thinking about starting a scholarship fund for nursing students. I could use some advice from someone wise." "Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Yes, let's definitely talk." After they hung up, Jasmine sat back in her chair and felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time: pure excitement about the future. She was rich now, richer than she had ever dreamed. But more importantly, she was free to become the person she was meant to be. The girl who had been willing to sign a prenup was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, and it had nothing to do with the money in her bank account. 2 weeks later, Jasmine started her internship at Children's Memorial Hospital. She had bought herself a reliable used car, nothing fancy, just dependable transportation, and drove to work with butterflies in her stomach. The pediatric ward was everything she had dreamed it would be. Bright colors on the walls, toys scattered around the playroom, and the sound of children's laughter mixing with the usual hospital noises. It felt like home immediately. Dr. Sarah Chun, the woman who had hired her, gave her a tour of the facility. "You'll be working primarily with our oncology patients," she explained. "These kids are fighting the biggest battles of their lives, and they need all the love and support we can give them." Jasmine's first patient was a 7-year-old girl named Aaliyah who was undergoing chemotherapy for leukemia. The little girl was bald from treatment, but had the brightest smile Jasmine had ever seen. "Are you my new nurse?" Aaliyah asked as Jasmine checked her for. "I'm one of them," Jasmine said with a warm smile. "I'm Ms. Jasmine." "I like your hair," Aaliyah said, reaching up to touch Jasmine's natural curls. "Mine used to look like that before it fell out. It's going to grow back, even more beautiful than before," Jasmine assured her. "That's what my mom says, too. She says I'm going to have princess hair when I get better." Working with the children reminded Jasmine why she had chosen nursing in the first place. These kids were so brave, so full of hope despite everything they were going through. Their families were struggling with medical bills, time off work, and the emotional toll of watching their children suffer. That evening, Jasmine called Mrs. Johnson to set up their lunch meeting. "I've been thinking about our conversation," Mrs. Johnson said. "A scholarship fund for nursing students is wonderful, but what about the families? I see so many parents here who are drowning financially while their babies are sick." "What do you mean?" Jasmine asked. "Well, there's Mrs. Rodriguez whose daughter has been here for 3 months. She had to quit her job to stay with the baby, and now they're behind on rent. And Mr. Williams, his son needs a bone marrow transplant, but the family can't afford the travel expenses to get to the specialist." Jasmine felt her heart breaking. She had been so focused on her own problems with Marcus and his family that she hadn't fully grasped how much other people were struggling. "What if we did both?" she said suddenly. "Scholarships for nursing students and emergency funds for families dealing with medical crises? Oh, honey, that would be amazing. But that would take a lot of money. If only you knew," Jasmine thought to herself. "Let me look into it and see what's possible." The next day, at the hospital, Jasmine paid closer attention to the families around her. She saw parents sleeping on uncomfortable chairs because they couldn't afford hotel rooms. She watched mothers choosing between buying lunch for themselves or putting gas in their cars to get home to their other children. During her break, she found Aaliyah's mother, Mrs. Thompson, crying quietly in the family lounge. "Is everything okay?" Jasmine asked gently. Mrs. Thompson wiped her eyes quickly. "Oh, I'm fine. Just tired, you know?" "It's okay not to be fine," Jasmine said, sitting beside her. "This is incredibly hard." The floodgates opened, and Mrs. Thompson started sobbing. "I don't know how we're going to pay for all this. Insurance covers some of it, but not everything. My husband is working overtime, but I can't work because I need to be here with Aaliyah. We're going to lose our house." Jasmine felt a fire ignite in her chest. Here was a family doing everything right, working hard, loving their child, and they were being destroyed financially by circumstances beyond their control. "Have you applied for any assistance programs?" Jasmine asked. "We've tried everything. We make just enough money that we don't qualify for most help, but not enough to actually afford this." That night, Jasmine couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Mrs. Thompson's tears, about all the families she had seen struggling. She had $10 million sitting in a trust fund, and people were losing their homes while their children fought for their lives. The next morning, she called Mr. Patterson, the lawyer in Chicago. "I want to set up a foundation," she told him. "Something to help families with medical expenses and to provide scholarships for nursing students." "That's a wonderful idea, Jasmine. How much were you thinking of allocating for this? 2 million to start. 1 million for each cause. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted so long that Jasmine wondered if the connection had dropped. Jasmine, that's incredibly generous. Are you sure you want to commit that much money so soon? I'm sure. What good is having money if I can't help people with it? You sound just like your grandmother, Mr. Patterson said warmly. Let me draw up the paperwork. While she waited for the legal documents, Jasmine started researching how to run a charitable foundation. She learned about grant applications, tax implications, and board structures. It was overwhelming but exciting. A week later, she met Mrs. Johnson for lunch at a small restaurant near the hospital. The older woman listened intently as Jasmine explained her plans. You want to give away $2 million? Mrs. Johnson asked in amazement. It's not really giving it away, Jasmine said. It's investing it in people who need help. Honey, where did you get that kind of money? You're still a student. Jasmine had been dreading this question. She trusted Mrs. Johnson, but she wasn't ready to tell the whole truth yet. I received an inheritance from someone who believed in me, she said simply, someone who wanted the money used to help others. Mrs. Johnson studied her face for a moment, then nodded. Well, whoever it was chose the right person. You have a good heart, Jasmine. Will you help me? I need someone with experience to guide me through this. Of course I will. This is going to change so many lives. That afternoon, Jasmine was helping Aaliyah with her homework when the little girl looked up at her with serious eyes. Ms. Jasmine, are you an angel? The question caught Jasmine off guard. What do you mean, sweetie? Mommy says angels help people when they need it most. You help all the kids here, and you make us feel better when we're scared. Jasmine felt tears prick her eyes. I'm not an angel, baby. I'm just someone who cares about you. I think you're both, Aaliyah said matter-of-factly, then went back to her math problems. Walking to her car that evening, Jasmine thought about the little girl's words. 6 months ago, she had felt powerless and small, willing to sign away her dreams for the approval of people who didn't value her. Now, she had the power to change lives. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I heard you're doing well. Congratulations on the internship. Marcus. Jasmine stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it without responding. That part of her life was over. She wasn't the same person who had loved him, and she wasn't interested in looking backward. Instead, she called Keisha. Hey, girl, want to help me plan a charity foundation? Hey, what now? Keisha laughed. Girl, what are you up to? Changing the world, one family at a time. You know what? I'm not even surprised. That's exactly something you would do. As Jasmine drove home through the city lights, she felt something she had never experienced before, complete certainty about her path. She was exactly where she was supposed to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. Mr. Thompson had been right when he wrote that she had earned this money by being the kind of person worth investing in. Now, it was time to prove that his investment would pay dividends in ways that couldn't be measured in dollars. 3 months into her internship, Jasmine had established the Rose Thompson Foundation, named after her grandmother, and the man whose generosity had made it all possible. The paperwork was finalized, the first grants were approved, and word was quietly spreading through the hospital community. Mrs. Johnson had agreed to serve on the board, along with Dr. Chin and a financial advisor Mr. Patterson had recommended. They met every 2 weeks in a conference room at the hospital, reviewing applications and making decisions about who to help. We have 37 applications this month, Mrs. Johnson announced at their latest meeting. Everything from families needing help with travel expenses to parents who can't pay rent because they've been off work caring for sick children. Jasmine reviewed the files spread across the table. Each one represented a family in crisis, people who were doing everything right, but still struggling under the weight of medical bills and lost income. What about the Hendersons? She asked, picking up one file. Their son needs a liver transplant, but they live in a small town 3 hours away. The mom has been staying at a hotel near the hospital for 2 months. Hotel bills are running them about $4,000 a month, Dr. Chin said. Insurance doesn't cover lodging expenses. Approved, Jasmine said without hesitation. What about the scholarship applications? We have 15 nursing students applying this round, Mrs. Johnson said, pulling out another stack of papers. All of them have excellent grades and strong recommendations. Jasmine smiled as she read through the applications. Many of the students had stories similar to her own. Working multiple jobs while going to school, supporting families, driven by a desire to help others despite financial struggles. I want to approve all of them, she said. Jasmine, that's over $200,000 in scholarships, the financial advisor cautioned. We have the money, she said simply, and these students have the dedication. It's a good investment. After the meeting, Jasmine walked through the pediatric ward to check on her patients. She found Aaliyah in the playroom, carefully coloring in a princess coloring book. The little girl's hair was starting to grow back in soft patches, and her latest test results had been encouraging. How are you feeling today, princess? Jasmine asked, sitting beside her. Good. Look, I made this for you. Aaliyah held up her coloring page, which showed a dark-skinned princess with curly hair wearing a nurse's uniform. She looks just like you, Aaliyah explained. Mommy said you're helping other families too, not just us. Word was getting out about the foundation, despite Jasmine's efforts to keep it quiet. Grateful families were talking, and somehow people had figured out that she was behind the mysterious grants that were helping so many people. I just want to help where I can, Jasmine said, hanging the picture on the bulletin board beside Aaliyah's bed. You're definitely an angel, Aaliyah said with the certainty that only children possess. That evening, Jasmine was at home studying when her phone rang. The caller ID showed her cousin Denise's number. Girl, you need to call me back right now, Denise's voicemail said. I just saw something on Facebook that you need to know about. Jasmine called her back immediately. What's wrong? It's not wrong, it's just weird. Someone posted in one of those Chicago community groups about a mysterious benefactor helping families at Children's Memorial Hospital. The post is getting shared like crazy. Jasmine's stomach dropped. What exactly does it say? Let me read it to you. I don't know who you are, but thank you for saving our family. When our daughter was diagnosed with cancer, we thought we were going to lose everything. Then we got a call saying our hotel expenses were covered by the Rose Thompson Foundation. We found out this foundation is helping dozens of families. Whoever is behind this, you are an angel. Oh no, Jasmine whispered. There are hundreds of comments from other families saying the same thing. Girl, people are trying to figure out who's funding this foundation. They want to thank you. After they hung up, Jasmine sat in her apartment feeling overwhelmed. She had wanted to help people quietly, the way Grandma Rose had always done. She didn't want attention or recognition. Her phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. Girl, did you see Facebook? People are going crazy trying to figure out who the Rose Thompson Foundation angel is. Then another text from Dr. Chun. Jasmine, we need to talk tomorrow. The hospital administrator wants to meet with you. And finally, a message that made her blood run cold from Marcus. I saw the news about the foundation. I always knew you had a good heart. Can we talk? Jasmine turned off her phone and sat in the dark of her apartment. The quiet life she had been building was about to get very complicated. The next morning at the hospital, Jasmine was called into Dr. Chen's office. The hospital administrator, Mr. Williams, was there along with the chief of staff. Jasmine, Dr. Chen said gently, we need to discuss the Rose Thompson Foundation. Am I in trouble? Jasmine asked nervously. Not at all, Mr. Williams assured her. We're grateful for what the foundation is doing, but we need to be transparent about any conflicts of interest. Are you affiliated with this foundation in any way? Jasmine took a deep breath. She had known this moment would come eventually. I founded it, she said simply. The room fell silent. Dr. Chin stared at her in amazement. You founded it? Mr. Williams repeated. Jasmine, this foundation has distributed over $500,000 in just 3 months. How is that possible? I received An inheritance, she said, using the same explanation she had given Mrs. Johnson. Someone believed in me and wanted the money used to help others. This is incredible, the chief of staff said. Do you have any idea how many families you've helped? I know exactly how many, Jasmine said quietly. 47 families have received emergency assistance, and 15 students have received scholarships. But I didn't do this for recognition. I just wanted to help. Well, you can't stay anonymous much longer, Mr. Williams said. The local news stations are starting to investigate. They want to know who's behind these mysterious grants. As if on cue, Dr. Chen's assistant knocked on the door. Dr. Chen, there's a reporter from Channel 7 here asking about the Rose Thompson Foundation. She wants to interview someone about the impact it's having on families. Jasmine felt panic rising in her chest. I can't talk to reporters. I don't want this kind of attention. You might not have a choice, Mr. Williams said gently. Good news travels fast, and people are curious about good news these days. That afternoon, Jasmine called Mr. Patterson for advice. The foundation is legally separate from you personally, he explained. You don't have to reveal your identity if you don't want to. But Jasmine, what you're doing is beautiful. There's no shame in people knowing you're helping them. I just don't want it to change anything. I don't want people treating me differently. Too late for that, he said with a laugh. You've already changed everything for dozens of families. The question is, are you ready to own that power and use it openly? That evening, Jasmine sat in Aaliyah's room while the little girl slept. The child's breathing was steady and strong, and her latest scans showed that the cancer was in remission. In a few weeks, she would be able to go home. Mrs. Thompson sat in the chair beside the bed, looking more relaxed than Jasmine had seen her in months. The foundation paid our mortgage for 6 months, she said quietly. I never told you, because I didn't want you to think we were taking advantage, but we were about to lose the house. Now Aaliyah will have a home to go back to when she's released. Jasmine felt tears in her eyes. I'm so glad. Whoever is running that foundation, they saved our family. I don't know how we'll ever repay them. You don't need to repay anything, Jasmine said. Just take care of your daughter and be happy. I pray for them every night, Mrs. Thompson continued, for whoever is helping all these families. I pray that God blesses them the way they've blessed us. Walking to her car that night, Jasmine made a decision. She would stop hiding. If people wanted to know who was helping these families, she would tell them. Not because she wanted fame or recognition, but because transparency might help her help even more people. She was no longer the girl who had been afraid to ask Marcus's parents to treat her with respect. She was a woman who had found her purpose and her power. Tomorrow, she would call that reporter back. The Channel 7 News van was parked outside Children's Memorial Hospital when Jasmine arrived for work the next morning. Her stomach churned as she walked past it, knowing that in a few hours she would be sitting in front of those cameras telling her story to the entire city. She had called the reporter, Amanda Martinez, the night before and agreed to an interview. But now, seeing the equipment being set up, she was having second thoughts. You look nervous, Dr. Chen observed as they passed each other in the hallway. Terrified is more like it, Jasmine admitted. I've never done anything like this before. Just speak from the heart. Tell them why you're doing this. That's all anyone needs to hear. Jasmine spent the morning with her patients, trying to stay calm. Aaliyah was having a good day, coloring another picture while her mother read nearby. Ms. Jasmine, you look worried, the little girl observed with the sharp intuition that children possess. I have to do something scary today, Jasmine said, checking Aaliyah's chart. What kind of scary? I have to talk to a lot of people about something important. Aaliyah considered this seriously. Well, whenever I'm scared about my treatments, I remember that they're helping me get better. Maybe your scary thing will help people too. You're very wise for 7 years old, Jasmine said, smiling despite her nerves. Mommy says wisdom comes from going through hard things. I've been through lots of hard things, so I must be super wise. The interview was scheduled for 2 o'clock in the hospital's conference room. Amanda Martinez was a young Latina reporter with kind eyes and a warm smile that immediately put Jasmine at ease. "Thank you so much for agreeing to talk with us," Amanda said as the camera crew set up their equipment. "I have to say, this is one of the most heartwarming stories I've covered in years." "I'm not sure why it's newsworthy," Jasmine said nervously. "People help each other all the time." "Not to this extent. In 3 months, the Rose Thompson Foundation has distributed over $600,000 to families in crisis. That's extraordinary for any organization, let alone one run by a nursing student." When the cameras started rolling, Jasmine felt her mouth go dry. But Amanda's first question was gentle and easy. "Tell us about the Rose Thompson Foundation. How did it start?" "It started with love," Jasmine said, her voice steadying as she thought about Grandma Rose and Mr. Thompson. "It's named after my grandmother, Rose Washington, who taught me that helping others is the most important thing we can do, and after Harold Thompson, whose generosity made all of this possible." "Harold Thompson left you a significant inheritance, is that correct?" "Yes. Mr. Thompson remembered my grandmother's kindness to him over the years. He was a quiet man who lived simply, but he had saved a lot of money over his lifetime. When he passed away, he left most of it to me with the hope that I would use it to help others." "What made you decide to focus on families dealing with medical crises?" Jasmine thought about Mrs. Thompson crying in the family lounge, about all the parents she had seen choosing between basic necessities because of medical bills. When you're here at the hospital every day, you see how medical emergencies affect entire families, not just patients. Parents lose jobs because they have to care for sick children. Families go into debt, paying for treatments that insurance doesn't cover. Good people who are doing everything right end up losing their homes because someone they love got sick. Can you tell us about some of the families you've helped? "There's a little girl named Aaliyah who's been fighting leukemia. Her family was about to lose their house because her mother couldn't work while staying at the hospital. Now, Aaliyah is in remission and has a home to go back to. There's a family whose son needed a bone marrow transplant, but they couldn't afford the travel expenses to get to the specialist. Now he's recovering from a successful transplant." Amanda leaned forward, clearly moved by the stories. "How does it feel to have this kind of impact on people's lives?" Jasmine paused, trying to find the right words. "It feels like I'm finally doing what I was meant to do. My grandmother always said that we're blessed, so we can be a blessing to others. This inheritance isn't just money. It's an opportunity to honor her memory and Mr. Thompson's trust by helping people who need it most. You're also providing scholarships for nursing students. Why is that important to you?" "Because I know what it's like to work 2 jobs while going to school, to worry about whether you can afford textbooks or rent. These students want to help people, but they shouldn't have to choose between their education and survival. If we can remove that barrier, they can focus on becoming the nurses our communities need." Some people might wonder why you didn't just keep the money for yourself. You could have lived very comfortably without working. Jasmine shook her head firmly. "That's not who I am. My grandmother raised me to understand that true wealth comes from what you give, not what you keep. Besides, I am living comfortably. I have everything I need, and I get to spend my days helping children and families. I couldn't ask for a richer life than that." "What's next for the Rose Thompson Foundation?" "We want to expand our reach. Right now, we're helping families here at Children's Memorial, but there are families struggling at hospitals all over the city. We're also looking at providing emergency assistance for other types of crises, house fires, job loss, natural disasters. Anywhere good people need a helping hand. Any message for the families you've helped who might be watching?" Jasmine looked directly into the camera. "You don't owe me anything. You don't need to pay this back or feel guilty about accepting help. Just take care of your families and be happy. And when you're in a position to help someone else someday, pass it forward. That's how we change the world, one act of kindness at a time." When the interview was over, Jasmine felt emotionally drained but relieved. She had told her story honestly, and it felt good to finally be open about what she was doing. "That was beautiful," Amanda said as the crew packed up their equipment. I have a feeling this is going to touch a lot of hearts. The story aired that evening during the 6 o'clock news. Jasmine watched it at home with Keisha, who had brought pizza and wine to celebrate. Girl, you looked like a natural on camera, Keisha said. And the way you talked about your grandmother, I was crying. Jasmine's phone started ringing before the segment was even over. Calls from friends, classmates, people from church she hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted to congratulate her or tell her how proud they were. But the call that meant the most came from Mrs. Johnson. Honey, I just watched you on the news, and I am so proud I could burst, the older woman said through tears. Your grandmother would be over the moon seeing what you've become. Thank you for helping me figure out how to do this right, Jasmine said. You didn't need my help figuring out the important part. You already had a heart for helping people. I just helped with the paperwork. After the calls died down, Jasmine sat on her couch, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had spent months trying to help people quietly, but now her story was out in the world. Her phone buzzed with one final text of the night from a number she recognized but hadn't heard from in weeks. Saw you on the news. I always knew you were special. I'm proud of you. Marcus. For the first time, Jasmine didn't feel angry or hurt reading his words. She felt nothing at all. That chapter of her life was completely closed. She deleted the message and turned off her phone. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new families to help, new opportunities to make a difference. Tonight, she was just grateful to be exactly where she belonged. The news segment about Jasmine and the Rose Thompson Foundation aired on a Friday night. By Monday morning, her entire world had changed in ways she never could have anticipated. She arrived at the hospital to find reporters from 3 different news stations waiting in the parking lot. Her phone had been ringing nonstop since Saturday with interview requests, donation offers, and messages from people wanting help. There she is, someone shouted as she got out of her car. Cameras and microphones were suddenly thrust in her face. Jasmine, can you tell us about your plans to expand the foundation? How much money did Harold Thompson actually leave you? Are you planning to quit nursing school now that you're rich? Jasmine pushed through the crowd, her heart racing. She had expected some attention, but not this media frenzy. Hospital security helped her get inside, where Dr. Chen was waiting with a concerned expression. Are you okay? She asked, leading Jasmine to her office. I didn't expect it to be like this, Jasmine said, still shaken. They were acting like I'm some kind of celebrity. The story has been picked up by national news outlets. CNN, Good Morning America, The Today Show, they all want to interview you. The hospital's phone has been ringing all weekend with calls about you. Jasmine sank into a chair. I just wanted to help some families. I never wanted all this attention. Unfortunately, good news is rare these days, Dr. Chen said gently. People are hungry for stories about kindness and generosity. You've become a symbol of hope. The situation got more complicated when Jasmine tried to check on her patients. Aaliyah's room was filled with flowers and balloons from strangers who had seen the news story. Other patients' families were asking if she could help them too, even though many of them were already receiving assistance from the foundation. Ms. Jasmine, why are all those people outside trying to talk to you? Aaliyah asked innocently. They want to ask me questions about helping families, Jasmine explained. Are you famous now? I hope not, Jasmine said with a laugh that didn't quite hide her anxiety. During her lunch break, Jasmine called Mr. Patterson for advice. The attention will die down eventually, he assured her. But you need to be prepared for some challenges. When people know you have money, they start coming out of the woodwork. What do you mean? Family members you haven't heard from in years, old friends with sob stories, people claiming you owe them something. It's unfortunate, but it's reality. As if to prove his point, Jasmine's phone rang as soon as she hung up with the lawyer. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize. Hello? Jasmine. Girl, it's your cousin Tony from Atlanta. I saw you on the news, and I am so proud of you. Jasmine frowned. She had a cousin Tony, but they hadn't spoken since she was about 10 years old. Hi, Tony, she said cautiously. Listen, I hate to bother you when you're so busy helping everyone, but I'm in a real bind here. My business is struggling, and I'm about to lose everything. I was hoping maybe you could help family first, you know? There it was. Jasmine felt her stomach sink. Tony, the foundation helps families with medical crises. I don't think your situation qualifies, but we're blood, Jasmine. Family takes care of family. I'm sorry, but I can't help you, she said firmly, then hung up. Within an hour, she had 3 more calls from distant relatives she barely remembered, all with similar requests. Her cousin Denise called, too, but for a different reason. Girl, you need to change your phone number again, Denise said. People are calling me asking for your contact information. Some woman even showed up at my house claiming she's your great aunt and needs money for her medical bills. I don't have a great aunt, Jasmine said wearily. I know. I told her to get off my porch before I called the police. That evening, Jasmine sat in her apartment feeling overwhelmed and isolated. The foundation's website had crashed from too much traffic. Her personal email was flooded with requests for help, some legitimate, but many clearly scams. She had even received marriage proposals from men who had seen her on television. Her phone rang, and she almost didn't answer when she saw Marcus's name on the caller ID. But something made her pick up. What do you want, Marcus? I wanted to check on you. I saw the news coverage today, and it looked pretty intense. His voice was gentle, concerned. It reminded her of a man she had fallen in love with before his parents had poisoned their relationship. It's been overwhelming, she admitted. Are you safe? Do you need anything? The question surprised her. Despite everything that had happened between them, he sounded genuinely worried about her well-being. I'm okay. Just trying to figure out how to handle all this attention. For what it's worth, I think what you're doing is incredible. I always knew you had a big heart, but this is amazing. Thank you, she said quietly. Jasmine, I know I don't have the right to ask, but can I see you? Just to talk? I promise I'm not trying to get back together or anything like that. I've learned some things about myself since we broke up, and I'd like to share them with you. Jasmine hesitated. Part of her was curious about what he had to say, but a bigger part of her was afraid of opening old wounds. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just coffee, one conversation, and then I'll leave you alone forever if that's what you want. Against her better judgment, Jasmine found herself agreeing to meet him the next evening at a quiet cafe near her apartment. After they hung up, she immediately regretted the decision. She called Keisha for a reality check. Girl, why would you agree to meet with him? Keisha asked, You're doing so well without him in your life. I guess I'm curious about what he wants to say. And honestly, it might be nice to talk to someone who knew me before all this craziness started. Just be careful. You're vulnerable right now with all this media attention. Don't let him take advantage of that. That night, Jasmine lay awake thinking about the strange turn her life had taken. A year ago, she had been struggling to pay for school and wondering if she would ever find her place in the world. Now she was a millionaire philanthropist being pursued by national media. But despite all the chaos and attention, she felt more centered than she ever had. She knew who she was and what she wanted to do with her life. No amount of fame or scrutiny could take that away from her. Tomorrow she would meet with Marcus and hear what he had to say. But whatever it was, it wouldn't change her path forward. She was committed to helping families, expanding the foundation, and finishing her nursing degree. The girl who had been willing to sign a prenup was gone forever. In her place was a woman who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to use her power for good. The cafe Marcus had chosen was small and tucked away from the main streets, probably to avoid any lingering reporters. Jasmine arrived a few minutes early and chose a corner table where they could talk privately. She felt nervous, but not in the desperate, lovesick way she used to feel around him. This was different, more like the nervousness of facing an important conversation that needed to happen. Marcus walked in exactly on time, looking more subdued than she remembered. His expensive clothes were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a button-down shirt. He looked older somehow, more serious. "Thank you for coming," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't. Jasmine said honestly. What did you want to talk about? Marcus ordered coffee while Jasmine sipped her tea, both of them avoiding eye contact in the awkward silence. I owe you an apology, he finally said. A real one, not the desperate phone calls I made trying to get you back. Okay, Jasmine said, simply waiting. I was a coward. When my parents demanded that prenup, I should have stood up for you. I should have told them that if they couldn't respect the woman I loved, then I didn't want their money or their approval. Jasmine nodded but didn't respond. She had heard this before. But here's what I didn't understand then. Marcus continued, his voice getting stronger. I thought I was protecting our future by going along with them. I thought if I just kept everyone happy, we could work it out later. I didn't realize that by not fighting for you, I was telling you that you weren't worth fighting for. That's exactly what you were telling me, Jasmine said quietly. I know that now, and I know it's too late to fix what I broke. But I needed you to know that I finally understand why you left. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her a photo of a small apartment. This is where I live now. I quit the family business 6 months ago. I'm working as a financial advisor for a small firm, making my own way. Why are you telling me this? Because I wanted you to know that I learned something from losing you. I learned that being true to yourself and the people you love is more important than money or family approval. I learned it too late to save us, but I learned it. Jasmine studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation or selfishness, but she saw only genuine regret. I'm glad you figured that out, she said. But why tell me now? Why not 6 months ago, when you first left your family's business? Because I saw you on the news, and I realized something else. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes intense. You didn't just dodge a bullet when you left me. You saved yourself from becoming someone you were meant to be. If you had signed that prenup and married me, you never would have become this person, this woman who's changing lives and helping families. My family would have tried to turn you into their version of a perfect wife, and the world would have lost someone extraordinary. Tears pricked Jasmine's eyes, but she blinked them back. So, what do you want from me, Marcus? Forgiveness? Closure? I want you to know that I see you now. Really see you. Not the woman I wanted you to be, but the woman you actually are. And she's incredible. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared history hanging between them. I forgive you, Jasmine said finally, not because you deserve it, but because I don't want to carry anger anymore. I have too many good things to focus on. Marcus's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. That means everything to me. But Marcus, this doesn't change anything between us. We're not getting back together. I know, he said quickly. I'm not asking for that. I know I lost that right. I wanted you to know that you were right to leave. You were right to believe you deserved better. As they prepared to leave, Marcus pulled out an envelope. I have something for you. For the foundation. Inside was a check for $50,000. Marcus, I can't take this, Jasmine said, trying to hand it back. It's not for me. It's for my parents. Jasmine stared at him in shock. What? They saw you on the news too. They were humbled, I guess. They realized that the woman they tried to control with a prenup turned out to be richer and more generous than they ever were. Mom cried when she saw the story about the little girl with leukemia. Your mother cried? She said she was ashamed of how they treated you. This donation, it's their way of apologizing. They know it doesn't make up for what they did, but they wanted to contribute to the good work you're doing. Jasmine looked at the check again, her mind reeling. The Richardson family, who had looked down on her for being poor, was now giving her money to help other poor families. Will you take it? Marcus asked. Not for them, but for the families who need help. The foundation will take it, Jasmine said finally. Every dollar helps someone. As they walked out of the cafe together, Marcus stopped on the sidewalk. I have one more thing to say, and then I promise I'll leave you alone. What? I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you chose yourself over settling for less. I'm proud that you're using your good fortune to help others. And I'm proud that I got to love you, even if I didn't do it well enough. Jasmine felt tears threatening again, but this time she let them come. Thank you for saying that, she whispered. They hugged goodbye. A real hug, full of closure and genuine affection, and then walked away in opposite directions. Driving home, Jasmine felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The last piece of her old life had been resolved. Marcus had become the man she had hoped he could be, just too late for them. But that was okay. Some people come into your life to stay, and others come to teach you what you don't want. Her phone rang as she pulled into her parking space. It was Dr. Chun. Jasmine, I have amazing news. The story about you and the foundation has inspired something incredible. What do you mean? Hospitals all over the country are calling. They want to partner with the Rose Thompson Foundation to help families in their communities. We could expand this nationwide. Jasmine sat in her car, overwhelmed by the possibility. Nationwide. Think about it. There are children fighting cancer in every state, families struggling with medical bills everywhere. If we could replicate what you've done here on a national scale, we could help thousands of families. Jasmine finished, her excitement building. I'll email you the details. But Jasmine, this would be huge. Are you ready for that kind of responsibility? I think so, Jasmine said, but she was already sure. This was what Mr. Thompson had envisioned when he left her that money. This was what Grandma Rose had prepared her for with all those lessons about helping others. There's one more thing, Dr. Chin continued. The Today Show wants to do a follow-up segment about the Foundation's expansion. They want to interview some of the families you've helped, including Aaliyah and her parents. What did they say? They're honored. Aaliyah is especially excited. She wants to tell everyone about her angel nurse. That evening, Jasmine called Mrs. Johnson to share the news about the potential expansion. Oh, honey, this is wonderful, the older woman said. But are you sure you're ready for something this big? I've been thinking about that, Jasmine said. A year ago, I would have been terrified, but I'm not the same person I was then. I know who I am now, and I know what I'm capable of. What changed? Jasmine thought about everything that had happened, breaking up with Marcus, inheriting the money, starting the foundation, facing the media attention. I learned that I don't need anyone's permission to be who I'm meant to be, she said. I learned that my worth isn't determined by what other people think of me or how much money I have. It's determined by how I use whatever I've been given to help others. Your grandmother would be so proud, Mrs. Johnson said softly. I think she would. And I think Mr. Thompson would be too. After they hung up, Jasmine walked to her window and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Aaliyah was sleeping peacefully in her own bed for the first time in months. Somewhere, Mrs. Rodriguez was tucking her daughter in without worrying about losing their home. Somewhere, a nursing student was studying late into the night, knowing that her education was secure. And somewhere, Marcus was probably sitting in his small apartment, thinking about the woman he had let slip away and the life lessons it had taken him too long to learn. 6 months ago, she had been asked to sign a prenup that would have left her with nothing. Now, she was worth $10 million and had the power to change lives across the country. But the real transformation hadn't been financial, it had been personal. She had learned to value herself, to fight for her dreams, and to use her blessings to bless others. Her phone buzzed with a text from Keisha, saw the news about going national. My best friend is about to be famous. I'm so proud of you, girl. Jasmine smiled as she typed back, just trying to make Grandma Rose proud. She already is, came the immediate reply, and so is everyone whose life you've touched. As Jasmine got ready for bed, she thought about the little girl's question from that morning. Are you famous now? Maybe she was becoming famous, but for all the right reasons. She was known for helping people, for giving back, for using her good fortune to lift others up. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new families to help. The Rose Thompson Foundation would grow, and with it, her ability to honor the memory of 2 people who had believed in the power of kindness. She fell asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of all the lives they would change together.